everyone, welcome to Witch Hazel's Cauldron. Thank you for joining me. I thought something that would be fun to talk about today is a project I have been working on, namely my Book of Shadows. Strange project, sort of, because I have been a witch for quite a long time. So why do I need to be working on my Book of Shadows other than it is a continual work in progress? Well, I have never really kept an ongoing Book of Shadows, partly because I am a very organized but stickler type organized person. I need everything in a certain way. So every time that I tried to put together a Book of Shadows, for some reason or other, I didn't like how it was turning out, and I scrapped it, started over. So to give you an idea of kind of the timeline progression of my Book of Shadows, I want to share with you something I found on a trip to my parents a little while ago. Now I have moved it from its original folder, but this was my quote-unquote notebook of shadows from when I was in the military. And most of this information comes from our rituals that we did in the Coven on Fort Carson. I have here the Spiritual Philosophy and Practice of Wicca in the U.S. military. I just really love this. It is the chaplain's guide for military Wiccans. And I have a lot of other information that was just printed out from the internet, some information that I found, some information that our high priestess found and gave to us. At one point, we were trying to develop a Coven Book of Shadows, something that we could all add to individually but have a basis together, which was a really great idea, I thought, but we didn't really keep up with it. Now, when I found this at my parents' place, I realized as I was flipping through pages, a lot of it was outdated, a lot of it was not really what resonated with me anymore, or ever, and in some cases some of the information was just wrong. Knowing what I've learned from then till now and looking back, some of the internet resources were not the best. So I am trying to sort through all of this. I've moved it into this folder. I do have some things, of course, that I want to keep, like some of our rituals that we did at that open circle. If I have them, these were probably the ones that I was part of and helped to write, so I'm keeping it for that purpose, that I know there are items in there that were important to me. Now, following this, and mind you, this got packed up in a box at my parents' place somehow for years. Following this, I tried putting together Books of Shadows in various notebooks. Of course, we pick out something that we think is beautiful, something we want to keep, and I have here a couple of examples. I did at one point have the idea of a Book of Shadows and a Book of Light, one for the Sabbats and rituals, one for spell work and full moon or moon observances. And again, you'll see in each of these, it worked out for, a couple of pages. And then it didn't anymore. I decided I did not like the setup, usually because I wanted to add something in a place where there was already writing, or I wanted it to be more organized somehow. And that was a big issue for me. I like to have things easily accessible that I could just spread out, and I don't like searching through a book for things. Same happened with this one. And this one I wound up repurposing. I actually pasted stationery pages to these pages so that I could use them again for a different purpose. And that worked out well for me for a while, but as you can see, I did not continue on with that either. So unless it's my own personal journal, books like this, they're very beautiful, but they just don't work for me. So what I wound up doing after a while was I had this old notebook laying around. Yes, I'm one of those people that just collect paper and notebooks. I love paper. And I started just taking notes in this. I have some leaves of things that I'm sure I got out of one of these other notebooks. And then I started taking additional notes, correspondences. It gets very messy when you get into my own notes because I just use this as a note-taking journal. Whatever I was working on at the time, take notes, references, put down page numbers, YouTube channels, everything. Whatever was in my head went on here. And for some reason, this was working for me for a while. And note all the little tabs. Again, I love organization and I need it. It is kind of me. So I decided, well, I want something bigger and I want something yet more accessible than this. I want something with pages I can take out and put in. So basically a binder, 3-ring binder. Why I hadn't done that really before, I don't know. I hadn't organized it, but I said again, okay, I'm going to try a binder. And I think my main issue with the binder was just it's not pretty, and I like pretty. So I had to come to terms with that. What I originally attempted to do in that vein of being able to move pages around was I found, and I'm sorry I took this apart so it looks awful right now, I had an old scrapbook. It's a post-bound scrapbook. Very pretty. I love this. I kept it for years. I never really used it as a scrapbook. But then I decided, oh, I'll put my Book of Shadows pages in here with page protectors. It'll be great. And it was beautiful for like 5 minutes. Because again, even though it's post-bound, it was very difficult for me to manipulate. I had issues with the little posts. One of them got stuck and then I couldn't open it. And then the page protectors were slippery and I had a hard time putting them in here. And it was a deterrence from actually using my notebook. So I said, okay, forget it. I'm just going the old school route. I'm going to get a notebook. And I did. So I have your good old-fashioned 3-ring binder, and I call this my Notebook of Shadows. This is not my Book of Shadows. This is my working Book of Shadows. And what I like, or what I mean by that is, and I have to look her up, her channel name is the Shoe Whisperer, I think, but I like what she called it. She had something similar. It was her business Book of Shadows. So this is basically where I am putting my information. All of the stuff that I gather that I think is important. Some of it, like on these pages, this is done, complete. I will be transferring this into my Book of Shadows once I have figured out what order I want everything in. Others I just have, like this was printed up as a reminder that I want to go through this and look at it and retype it myself, make any changes that I might want. I also have, again, here is just reference. I have my Sabbath section here. And this is reference for Samhain coming up, which I will be celebrating as Winter Nights. And I am starting to compile all of the information that I want for that day and for that ritual here, all in one spot. And then I'm going to put it all together, which hopefully I will make a separate video about that to show you how I actually go through the process of putting together a ritual. And then I also have this split up one more time, and then I have Esbats, any information I want there. And I split it up one more time with a Galdra book. And this is essentially the exact same thing as this, but with the Asatru focus. So I am still trying to meld and transfer the information that I want, that I enjoy, and that I want to keep from my years of practicing as an eclectic witch, with a strong preference for Gardnerian witchcraft and the Farrars specifically, how they have explained things. So I'm going through all of this. I don't want to just scrap it, but I'm seeing how it relates to and works with what I'm doing now with Asatru. And again, I have tabs for each one of the Sabbaths. So some of them are already typed up by me, some of them here at the end. is printed from the books that I work with, and I need to reformat these in a way that is meaningful to me. So far, I am extremely happy with this. I am so happy, and it makes a big difference, because when I have a system that makes sense to me, that is easily accessible, that I can move around and do things with, I don't feel constrained. All of the other systems I tried before, I felt like it just wasn't fluid enough, and it was lengthening the time that I needed to complete the projects I wanted to do. And therefore, my answer to that was, well, then I just won't do it. I had a very difficult time sitting and working on the things I wanted to work on. It's become much easier now that I put everything into this folder. So, why did I go through all that? My point with that was, if you are, especially if you're starting out, or if you've been a witch for a while and maybe things are not going as smoothly as you want them to, as far as organization goes, it's not necessarily you, which was my thing for a while. I thought, well, maybe I'm just a lousy witch, that I don't keep track of the moon, I don't keep track of rituals, I just never get anything done. Maybe, I mean, I am a big procrastinator, but it's also a lot of your system. What are you using to organize yourself? How are you keeping track of things? What are you doing to become the witch you want to be? And the one thing I did not bring over here, which I should have, it's sitting on my sofa, is my planner. I am a Franklin Covey girl. I have my Franklin Covey classic sized planner, and I use it all the time, every day, for everything. I received my first one when I got my sergeant stripes in the military. Actually, it was a gift for becoming a sergeant. I got a planner, and I loved it. And that, you can see, is partially why I have a similar system now. This should have been obvious. I really like that system. It works well for me. Duplicate it in what I do for witchcraft. Light bulb? Yeah, no. Light bulb 10 years later. So that's why I'm bringing this up, that it is important to find the system that works best for you and use it. I have on order a beautiful Book of Shadows. It's one of those handmade, custom, heirloom quality, all of that wonderful stuff, Book of Shadows that I have ordered, that hopefully will be ready to come to me anywhere between now and Christmas, that I am very excited about. But I already know that that being a bound book, I am not going to want to use it right away. I need to have this notebook to organize everything first and see how and what I want to put into that bound piece that I do want as an heirloom piece for right now for my niece. And that is very important to me. I want something to pass on to her, so I want to put it together nicely. And I don't plan on that being an everyday item. This notebook with the page protectors and all of that, this is definitely an everyday item. This is something I can work with all the time. So that protects and develops the more beautiful piece that I will have for my family later. Okay, that's all I wanted to say on that. I just thought that I would let you in on that project. I am having a wonderful time with it, and I will hopefully keep you updated on additional items that I'm working on with the notebook. So rituals as I put them together, spells, how I put them together, things like that that are very helpful to people who like to see what other people do. And I am one of those people. I love looking at other people's videos and blogs and pictures of how they put together their rituals and their other items to give me ideas. And that is really very valuable. So thank you again for joining me, and I hope you found it useful, and see you next time. Bye.